You seem to attack McCartney now in your first couple solo albums. How do you feel about Paul McCartney now?
This is like a joke. We're just good friends. We're pretty close now. Whenever he comes to America, he comes with Linda to see me, and we go eat and we reminisce about old times. And we really both have evolved out of whatever feelings we had when we first split. I think it's a case of we were more scared than we thought, all of us. The fact, however the split happened, being suddenly on your own after 10 years was a pretty scary thing for all of us.
I think you probably turned out the most creative things.
Well, that's nice of you, but I guess it's a matter of opinion.
Well, my point is not to give you a stroke.
Well, I'll take it.
Do you think McCartney has come along since his first solo album, which I personally was kind of disappointed with?
I think he has, if it hasn't actually happened, he's in the process of freeing himself somehow or other. And I think it does show in the music, in as much as, on one level, it gets to you right away. I don't mean in a MOR way, you know? There's definitely something musical happening in his stuff, which I didn't think was happening in the early stuff, although the music was there. It was just like he had it in an overcoat, you know?
Yeah.
And I think it seems like he's taken his overcoat off now. I think it's very awake music, whatever it is. And I started listening to it again, and I must say I dig a lot of it, you know? And I listen to the radio, right? So whatever's going down, that's what I'm hearing. I dig radio, and that's where I get all my musical information from. I'm not the kind that can sit down and listen to albums, you know, unless I'm at somebody's place and they say, here, listen to this, you know? So unless I turn the radio on, I wouldn't know what was happening.
Why did you write
How Do You Sleep?
How Do You Sleep?
Yeah.
Is that what he said? All right.
Why did I write it? Well, I don't have a reason for writing.
It's a beautiful song.
It's a good song. Like the Elephant's Memory Group was playing with me, said we must do it. And I said we can't do it because they all only think of it as being in reference to Paul. Well, we think of it as a good guitar solo. And I was answering a few little messages that Paul sent to me on RAM, you see, which only I publish my lyrics, you see. He doesn't, so you have to listen dead
But
hard.
artistically and musically, I
It's a
think
good song.
if you listen to it, it's a beautiful song.
A little what?
Vindictive.
Well, it's an answer, you know. Paul personally doesn't feel as though I insulted him or anything because I had dinner with him last week.
They
He's
were
quite
friends,
happy.
you know, and they were swearing at each other. Or,
If I
you
can't,
know,
I can't have a fight with my best friend, I don't know who I can have a fight with.
Is he your best friend, Paul?
I guess in the male sex he was. I don't know about now because I don't see much of him. And I think that some of the funniest lines on the album are the biggest thing, whatever it had done was yesterday, and it was actually Klein's line, one line of it. And since you've gone, you're just another day. I think it's the funniest thing I've ever heard. I don't think that about Paul all my life or all the time. I wrote it in an immediate response to when I heard his messages coming off his album, you know.
Did you think it was
You
funny?
mightn't hear him, but I can hear him, and
No,
I know
that particular
Paul.
song I didn't think was funny, but from knowing you now, I know that that's not how you feel all the time.
It's
every minute.
it's an angry song, like
Not the serious song.
it's not serious. Like Paul is really, really hurt by it. I'll know by the vibes come round, even if he doesn't call. Well, I'll explain it to him. I'll even write to him, you know, if he
It's
really,
like
really thinks
kidding a little, you know.
it's really,
now,
really
come
serious.
on, you know, that kind of thing.
But I think it's quite funny, and I was laughing when we were making it and listening to it. My father left me when I was a kid. I didn't see him until I made it, and he sort of blackmailed his way into my life through the press. I refused to see him, then I finally let him in. I started supporting him, looking after him. Then I went to therapy and sort of re-remembered how furious I was in the depths of my soul about being left as a child, you know. I mean, I understand people leaving their children because they can't cope, you know, or whatever happens for reasons, but you don't understand when you're feeling your own misery. So I came out of the therapy and told him to get the hell out, you know. And he did get the hell out, and I wish I hadn't really, because you know, everybody has their problems, including wayward fathers, you know.
The first solo album was done just as the Beatles were splitting, you know. Also, I was in the middle of therapy, and I was really doing a sort of inward trip, and there's a lot of sort of weird things in there, in all of us, right? Or surprising things, more like it. That is my favorite sort of piece of work, you know. It's not a kind of thing I sit down and play, you know, for fun. I think I stopped going to the point of whatever I was getting to in a roundabout way on that album. I just got right down to the nitty-gritty. I didn't overdub anything. There's only 3 musicians on it. You know, there was only 3 people on every every track, and nothing else was called for. It wouldn't have worked if I'd put a nice little oboe solo into Mother, you know?
Yeah.
But obviously I can't be going through such a deep emotional trip all the time, you know? Otherwise I'd be either a psychiatrist or a shredded wreck. You know, I obviously, like anybody else, I go through these things and then I sort of quotes, pull myself together, unquotes, which is, you know, not really true. It could be pulling yourself untogether.
If you latch onto something that you think will work for you, you plunge into it.
Because I've had to adjust to being like that because that's part of my personality, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's a bit to do with the artist side, like you said. If something's going on and it's around me, I sort of like a chameleon, you know? And I just really get into it, you know? If it's cornflakes or even with my food, if I get into a food, I eat only that food for weeks until I'm sick to death of it. That's the only way I know. It's like at school they always used to say, he's intelligent, but he only does what he wants to do, you know, which was supposed to be a bad point. He's only interested in things that interest him. That was the kind of dialogue they give you. And if I'm interested in something, I have to really get inside it. I don't care if it turns out to be not the answer to the universe when I've been through it, because there's that side of you which is always like a journalist, that sort of objective self that's watching all the time, even if you're in the Himalayas. And it's just like the artist side of it is recording what's going on all the time to experience something that you'll have something to say about.
I got drunk and shouted. It was the first night I drank Brandy Alexander's, which is brandy and milk, folks. And I was with Harry Nielsen, who didn't quite get as much coverage as me, the bum. And he really encouraged me. You know, I usually have somebody there that says, "Okay, Lennon, shut up," and I take it, you know. But I didn't have anybody around me to say shut up, and I just went on and on. But there was some girl that claimed I hit her, which I didn't hit her at all, you know. She just wanted some money. I had to pay her off, you know, because I thought it'll harm immigration. And she said she was a press photographer. She had an Instamatic, you know. She didn't even have any pictures. I was saying, well, if I hit her, why isn't the pictures of me, you know, like that? And they just sort of said, "Oh, okay, you better leave, Mr. Lennon." They took me out. So I was drunk. When it's Errol Flynn, you know, all them showbiz writers say, "Those were the days when we had Sinatra and Errol Flynn socking it to the people, real men." I do it and I'm a bum. It was a mistake, but hell, I'm human. I was drunk in Liverpool and smashed phone boxes. It didn't get in the papers then. But I didn't hit the reporter, but she got $1,000 or some crap, you know, because I had to pay her off. She wasn't a reporter, in fact.
The Beatlemania seems to have subsided somewhat. I mean, there's still tremendous interest, but...
I'll give you $90 against one or whatever the odds are that if we came on the road again, maybe the first time it'd be like that just again, because the myth still exists. I can judge it by the reaction to one Beatle, one lone Beatle and his Japanese bride wandering around, you know. And you multiply that 4 times on the hype and the pressure that'd be out on the publicity that would go with it. You saw what happened to the Stones. It was like they hadn't done it for 4 years in the States. It was like Stone Mania again. So if the Stones can do it, the Beatles certainly would do it. And the way the Beatles did it.
How long has it been now?
4 years or 5. You know. I'm not against performing, you know. But performing as a Beatle, there's such a myth and an aura about it that they expect Jesus, God and Buddha have said this a lot of times, you know, to come on stage. It's like the Isle of Wight Dylan concert, you know, and for the Beatles to come on, we'd have to come on and do a miracle.